you doing? Oh, it's afternoon. Lunchtime? Oh, afternoon technically.
It's morning here.
Morning for you. Morning for you. All right. Let's
Still having my morning coffee.
For those people that are just joining us, just to let you know, the piece of music that's playing in the background, which is really intense. Oh,
Can't hear you.
turn it down a little. It's a piece of music called Lodgement by Overeat Flower. I thought it was kind of fitting.
Right.
Anyway, okay, I feel like we could probably kill the music. What do you reckon?
I'm more productive. We didn't actually add that to our list, agenda of things to be more productive.
Maybe we do need that music playing to be more productive. That's really funny. Thank you, Marilyn. Appreciate it. For those who are just joining us, pop in the chats. Let us know where you're dialing in from. I today am dialing in from very rainy Melbourne. Yay! How exciting. But pop in the chat to say where you're dialing in from. Love to hear you. We have a number of people joining us today that have registered, which is pretty exciting. I feel like this is a very hot topic. Paul, you're dialing in from, is it sunny in Adelaide or is it raining?
It's overcast. It might try and rain today. Typical spring weather. It's actually quite balmy outside. At least it's not icy cold like it has been many mornings in the school drop-offs.
I would agree with that. That is the one definite benefit. Awesome. So just a few housekeeping rules before we kick off. I would love it if you guys could all change your chat, just in case you haven't, to everyone, so that if you've got comments throughout the webinar, we would love to hear from you. Keep this in as interactive as you like. It is a pretty hot topic. As I said, we've got a number of people that have registered to attend today, which is kind of cool. We have about 45 minutes, depending on how we go. We'll try and keep it to 45 minutes, just in case though. But thank you to everybody popping in where you're dialing in from. We've got Ballarat, we've got Queensland, we've got Hunter Valley, Kyabram, we've got Newcastle, Philippines. Hey, that's exciting. Loads of people dialing in. So thank you very much. Let's start things, shall we? So, Paul, thank you so much.
We've got our first question, by the way, Amy. I think you missed
first question already? Great.
Will this session be recorded?
Oh, 100%. Thank you very much. It is 100% being recorded. And for those that have registered, you will get a copy of the recording post this webinar. So thanks for that. Appreciate it. Thank you for joining me today, Paul. We are talking today, achieving 100% ATO lodgement by April 1st.
It's always topical. So how do we get all of our work done in a timely fashion so that we're all ready to get our tax planning sorted, trustee resolutions? We don't want that stuff carrying over into the middle of the rest of the madness that heads up to June 30 and May 15.
Being a little bit controversial, my thing is, why can't you achieve your lodgements by the 1st of April? I know that's a bit brutal.
Yeah, there's many layers associated with that. The top of the list for me would be clients that aren't necessarily as well organised as they should be, and very, very late delivery of information.
Which I appreciate and I do agree with and I do understand. But, you know, let's go through this. Let's unpack this one. All right. So before we do kick off, though, into the topic today, a little bit about who Clarity Street is. We are obviously a cloud-based business that designs and delivers dynamic, tailored, best practice infrastructures for accounting firms. But what does that actually mean? We deal with accounting practices a lot when it comes to project work. So have you got the right tech in place? Are you using the right tech? Is it connected? Is it talking to each other? Are your processes and your procedures actually clear and concise? Does it match the tech that you're using? Are you using manual processes? Are you actually using automations? Those kinds of things. So we help accounting practices to either adopt new tech or use the stuff that you've actually already got in the right way. We have built our learning and education platform as well, which is Clarity Campus, and that provides an opportunity for you to do self-paced learning. It comes with certificates so that you can claim that for your CPD points as well, but it's online learning coursework. And then you've also got a huge knowledge base of, I think there's over 1,000 different articles on all the different processes and procedures on how to use all the different apps in the ecosystem. And the final one is that we do a lot of consulting with our clients as well, just around the best practice infrastructures, we do coaching and education as well. Later on in this session, I will talk to you about a new consulting service that we have, which is Project 95. But otherwise, that's who Clarity Street is. So a little bit over to you, Paul, which would be, or before we jump into this one, would be just to let me know a little bit about you. Let me just pause sharing this one actually, Paul, just for 1 second. Do you want to talk to me about what you're actually, talk to me about AccountKit and that kind of thing for the moment. And I will, I'll just bring up the correct slide deck, which I feel like I may have got. Because what's just happened then? Yay, how cool is a webinar?
Love it. So yeah, AccountKit is it's a toolkit made for accountants and bookkeepers to automate, streamline, and bring visibility to a bunch of stuff that happens within your practice. We run an accounting firm out of Adelaide, and AccountKit was really born out of our own need to streamline a bunch of stuff, which dates right back to when we launched in 2016, when we'd migrated our own practice on the Xero Practice Manager, and we had a metric ton of Excel spreadsheets and templates that we used that I've built up over the years to make work papers. And as we migrated clients onto Xero, we're like, this is madness. There's a great API here. I'm sure there's heaps of stuff we could streamline and automate, which then also dovetails into the other issues around capturing correspondence. It was always a big pain point in our practice, making sure that we captured correspondence and then we shared it with the team so the people doing the work actually were aware of what's going on. And so there was a whole bunch of tools just fixing our own pain points. That's where it all came from. Here we go. So this is us. But a big key thing for us is I'm a firm advocate of enabling you to work where you work. And it seems like a weird thing to say, but we do a lot of work in our email. We're not going to get out of our email in a hurry. And otherwise, we're doing a lot of work within the browser. So what can we do in those spaces to make sure that we're not clicking all over the place to achieve those outcomes? Wherever possible, we'll try and automate and streamline bits and pieces across your practice. And that could be anything from auto filing of an e-signed document to posting equipment finance entries for you into Xero. Standardization, massive part of what we're covering today. The more we can standardize, the less discretion there is, the more reliable the outcome. And it helps us sleep at night, knowing that things are being done the right way and consistent way. But the biggie is, especially now that we're all heading to the cloud, is we've got disparate stuff scattered all over the place. Can we create visibility and reduce clicks to get to the information about our clients? And that's where we all kind of pull it all together.
Yeah, awesome. Thanks. Cool. So talk to me about the toolkit though. What's in it?
There are many, many things in the toolkit. We've broken it into 3 distinct areas. Administration is anything you're required to administer your practice in your day-to-day operations. Hence why you see things like PD tracking and workflow and correspondence and mail register. Even that important document register captures lots of useful information that normally lives inside spreadsheets. We came on board initially, I think, under the compliance tier. So here there's a whole bunch of compliance tools, which you can see we're building out some new tools, being the account reconciler that'll come very, very soon. These are just taking some things that are in spreadsheets and making them a bit more exciting, automating, standardizing, making things awesome. And the consulting and other things is just other useful things like business structure diagrams or just some simple toolkits or dashboards to surface birthdays, things that are useful but don't really fall under a particular heading.
Yeah, cool.
But ultimately, it brings it all together under our client group, which is some stuff I'll show today. Everything gets consolidated under the document management, your integrations, the client group details, brings it all together.
Yeah, awesome. Cool. All right. Why are we here? Now, you've already seen this slide, so don't know what happened with the slide deck before everybody It's fixed now though, so winning. Point of today's session obviously is how we can achieve 100% lodgement by the 1st of April, right? So, you know, we need to be able to understand, spot and resolve workflow bottlenecks. So that's the first issue. We are going to obviously identify the common obstacles in your current processes, and then obviously looking at some effective strategies to overcome those as well. The main thing here though is also optimizing your technology. So Paul is going to show us from the tech side how to use your tech tool, obviously, and I'm going to talk about it from the process perspective, just about what actually goes on in practice now and what you can actually do to change a few things from a process perspective, and then with the tech to overlay that to obviously help and optimize that, basically. So we've got a bit of a demo for you as well. Along the way, as I've said, as many questions as you like, feel free to hit us up along the way so we can keep that chat going. Okay. So talk to us about what's going on here from an integrations perspective, Paul.
Well, integrations, and obviously heading into the cloud, integrations is key. You have to have a really robust set of integrations and the way they work with each other. So as you start to share the information here, Amy, I didn't realize the animations work. This is good. So a good starting point is, you know, bringing in the Xero Practice Manager client data so you can sync with it, have that two-way sync of that information. That then flows in over to our Xero Blue, bringing in all the ledger data, which gives us a huge amount of power and detail to pull out really explicit information across the various tools. Then from here, it's all around choice. I'm not here to tell you how to run your practice.
No, that's my job.
That's definitely my job. From my point of view, it's all about picking the tools that best fit the way you like to work. Okay. And so in our practice, you know, we like Xero Practice Manager. We love SharePoint. We love our Outlook. We're not going to move off those. We use now Infinity and Teams, you know, just because it works well for us. And so we're picking up as best we can those major players, those that are the best in breed. And hopefully you get to pick and choose those you're already using and you're just embedding them in. So the next click will show us then all the other bits and pieces. So these are the different e-signing platforms that we think are the best in Australia, as well as the different options you have around the document management systems you can bolt onto the system. So as much as we can, we're going to create as much linkage between the systems, making it as seamless as possible.
Yeah, and I think this is a shout out as well, just for anybody using any of these techs, is whether you're using AccountKit or not. I mean, obviously the point of this is to give you some insight as to what AccountKit can do today, but whether you're using it or not, this is actually the bigger call out here is, do you actually have all of your tech connected? Is it talking to each other like these are? Like, you know, all of that kind of stuff. Like, is it actually, is it tech connected? Is it integrated? Least clicks, the better. That's the whole point of this. That's the aim of the game. Yeah, cool. Awesome. All right. What works against us? I know I think my first pick on this one, I know that we've got a couple here when it comes to preventing us from achieving 100%. I reckon it's a lack of organisation for the most part. But that's not to say that that's the accountant's lack of organisation. I'm talking collectively. Like accountants, you know, sometimes are disorganised, but also clients can be really disorganised as well. But also, I'd also want to throw another one out there, which is maybe you've all got too many clients from a compliance perspective. Just as another consideration and possibly topical to consider. I don't know. But Paul, what are your favourite ones?
Oh God, there's many bits. Where do I start? Lack of standardization really is a key thing, especially where you have potentially multiple partners. But even when you're bringing on new team members and getting them up to speed, and the amount of time that your team members have to then spend training them up, which typically might be in the form that they learned, which may not be the same as the person in the office next door, just making sure that things are being done the same way every single time. And having the cross checks available to us so that we know that they're being done the right way, because people have checked the box saying that we've done it the right way and they're pulled from a template store that is the right template store, not their own special version of a template they stored to their desktop because it was easy to deal with from there. That is a significant part of it. And I see it even in myself when I work on stuff. If I haven't done a proper setup for a workflow item, the amount of time I spend fluffing around just trying to work out how on earth I do this process that I only do a couple of times a year
Mhm.
I'm very thankful for my prior self when I actually do it properly and have set something up.
Yes. Yeah, I'd agree with that. What else? Anything else on this one? Do you reckon?
Yeah, technology, clearly. Yeah, technology, we have lots of tech that we use, and sometimes we go out there and we hope to find a piece of technology that's going to fix everything. It's really hard picking the right tech. You have every sales guy on the planet telling you how their app is the best one on the planet. And like you, I go out and ask other accountants. I use those channels in Facebook and I like to ask the question, or people like Amy to say, I've got a very particular problem. How do I fix this? I like to work this way. And just making sure that technology works well together, making sure that you can actually get data between systems without extra clicks and extra effort. More we can minimize that thing, more we can make that stuff sing together.
Yeah.
It should delight us. A lot of the time it doesn't delight us. So we keep going back to the old ways of doing it when we used to have the server and how that used to work, and that just doesn't work in the cloud environment.
Yeah, I think I'm going to show you guys this shortly, but there's also something to be said for being reactive versus proactive. I think that obviously plays a really pivotal point around an obstacle around achieving 100%, is if you are reactive to your clients and just let your clients come to you and dictate when they want to do their work, it makes it a lot harder for you to organize, plan, and actually be structured and be standardized with everything that you do. Whereas if you're proactive and you put them into kind of a workflow plan and a schedule, so to speak, then that also gives you a lot more control over, getting all of that work done, basically, as well.
Yeah, that ties in nicely to probably the resourcing problem as well. So the first question will be like, well, I don't have time to do that. The old adage of working on your business, not in your business, is a challenging one when you're just treading water to keep your head above the water. And yet it's not a problem that's going away. It's very hard to find team members to fill the gaps. And so we're looking at the outsourcing and insourcing and all the options there. But I keep tying a lot of this stuff back to, if you can't get the people, then can you take the technology to help take some of that heavy lifting off in some fashion? Can you streamline and replace part of the salary that you would otherwise pay by having the right systems in place to mitigate that? And I think there is some really good options, and they're always getting better. There's been lots of holes in the various stacks over the years, but they are getting progressively better with great options coming before.
Yeah, definitely. And I will go back to my original point, which is around, and this plays into resourcing as well, and having the time is, do consider that the current client base that you've got, do you potentially have too many clients? Because I feel like there are it does depend on what stage of business growth that you're in. But with the ATO obviously adding more and more compliance requirements along with, on what seems like a very regular basis these days, there is a consideration that potentially some of the clients that aren't necessarily your best fit, that you might have, obtained many years ago or early on, they may no longer be the right fit. Is it time to possibly consider that they may not be the right fit moving forward? Do you know what I mean? Because that obviously frees up capacity. And sometimes I think there is this desperate need and desire just to get more and more client work. But realistically, maybe, from new clients, there is a consideration that maybe you don't need new clients, and maybe look inside the actual, like the client base that you've got, do a bit of a client matrix as to what services you're actually providing and how you're currently servicing them. That can sometimes free up a lot of capacity as well, just to understand what services you're actually providing, how you're providing them, if you've got the right client mix, if you've got too many clients, if you might need new clients. Typically not, though, for most established accounting practices these days, depending on, as I said, depending on what stage of growth you're in.
Yeah, exactly right. Interesting enough, we went to the GAP conference last week, and so it was a great little eye-opener on how we can get more value to our clients, shift some of our focus. So it's not just compliance, but it's compliance with a layer of compliance advisory, and then how it enables us to upskill our team into other services. So we're getting more from a smaller client base, which is highly appealing. I'd rather delight our clients with doing lots of really cool stuff that they actually value, whether it be compliance advisory or anything. There's so many cool things we could be doing.
Yeah, I agree with that one. Cool. So let's move on. This might resonate with a few people on this call, and I'm hoping that it doesn't, and I'm hoping that we've got a whole heap of forward-thinking accountants out there that they are no longer doing this. But this is your traditional compliance, internal workflow compliance workflow process, okay? Client contacts you to get their work done. So you start the job and you get halfway through and you have queries. So you contact the client to get some answers, and then you wait. Multiple emails and calls, backwards and forwards. You pick up the job, you put down the job, you move on to another job, you forget about the queries. The client finally comes back to you, so you pick the job up again. You continue working, you ask additional queries, you put the job down. So the client comes back to you and you pick the job up again, and then you complete the job. You might look at the whip and cry a little bit, write time off and adjust it, look at the bill from last year, and regardless of the whip position this year, invoice with a 3 to 5% increase on the prior year. Send the work to the client for signing, or wait for the client to sign, or wait for the invoice to be paid. Continue to wait for both until you're finally at completion. The average whip lockup days in the industry is actually 90 to 120 days. Thank you, Jackie. I love that you love seeing this. That is the traditional one. I'd be really interested to know how many of you actually are still following that traditional process versus those that are like, no, we're shifting away from it. Feel free to chuck it in the chat if you feel comfortable. Zero judgment. We're here basically to highlight so that you can possibly see that there is an opportunity to improve. All right. So this usually results in this. The accountant's trying to explain their work schedule. Pretty much.
Yeah.
I love that picture. I love
one of my favorite images.
Thank you. That's awesome.
And also the whites around his eyes. It's like, oh, yeah, that's pretty much it.
That's funny. Very amusing, Nick. Thank you for that. All right. So this is what we actually recommend from a process perspective. And then Paul's going to take you through from a tech perspective as well as to how you could do this. And just to preface this, there's tech that helps this. But first things first, a good old-fashioned lodgement program. I wonder how many of you are actually running one of these, but proactively running a lodgement program, a work schedule, lodgement program, however you're actually doing it, right? So we would recommend 6 weeks in advance of when you plan to do the work, that the accountants have a meeting, and so they actually should be having these on a rolling kind of weekly, if not fortnightly meeting, to ascertain what work we plan on calling in, what work we plan on doing, for example, in the month of November, all right? So about a week ago, about 10 days ago, our admin assistant should have contacted all of the clients that we want to plan to do the work for in November proactively. Dear client, it's time to do your work. Please send us in the relevant info. And they follow up until that information arrives in the office. Once it arrives in the office, over to the accountant to scope that work. And this is obviously for current clients, not brand new clients, just to preface this. But for current clients, what did we do last year? How much time did we spend? How much did we invoice the client? And most importantly, if I wanted to get this job done to review stage 1 right now, what's missing? What's stopping me from achieving that? At that point, back to the admin team to prepare a proposal and send that to the client. If they're missing any information, obviously they would have followed up with the client first. Once they've got that, they then create a proposal, send that off to the client. We do recommend Ignition for this, and I can let you know that for those who aren't using AccountKit just yet, but you're considering it, they will obviously, this process can kind of help a little bit with it as well. But if you're using Zero Practice Manager, for example, and you're using FYI, those first couple of steps up the top, you can actually use with custom fields in XPM and automations in FYI. And I know that there are other options out there in the industry to obviously solve that problem. You've got the likes of Carbon, you've obviously got AccountKit, which was what we're going to go through. But if you don't have AccountKit just yet and you're considering, we'll go through that. So from a proposal perspective, we do recommend Ignition. Send that to the client. Off the back of an accepted proposal, we also recommend, where possible, taking payment up front, at least listing the dollar value and taking payment up front, because ultimately it's probably going to be the same as last year with a 3 to 5% increase anyway. So what's the difference realistically, right? Off the back of an accepted proposal though, your jobs automatically deploy into Zero Practice Manager, your invoices deploy into Zero Blue. You can then manage the work within XPM, and or your workflow can then be managed in AccountKit if you like, or the other platforms that are available to you there. But there should be no reason why you can't get your work done within a 14 to 28 day turnaround, because the psychology of the relationship between you and your client obviously shifts then. For the most part, for the bulk of the work, if they have paid up front for it, they will have an expectation that work needs to be done in a more timely manner, which means that the accountants typically get a kick up the butt because they're like, "Ooh, better get on to this," because, you know, the client's paid, so they have an expectation that it'll be done in a more timely manner. And if the client drags their heels at query stage, then you're not lost anything realistically, right? Because you've been paid and you can just keep on chasing them. This, you know, realistically though, this could be an internal target. This doesn't need to be an external target that you set with your clients about when you actually get them done. And, you know, from the clients that are already on a fixed price agreement, for example, if they're already on a monthly engagement, you can skip a few of these steps. This is more for those clients that you would typically have billed on a do and charge methodology, and you've billed them on completion. This is all about getting way more efficient, realistically. And it won't work for every single client, and I appreciate that it won't, but it can work for at least 90 to 95% of your clients, and those bespoke other ones, handle in that bespoke way, right? Beyond that though, nothing else really changes. Queries get answered, work gets reviewed, documents are prepared for signing, and then you either have a meeting to present the work to the client or you email that off for signature. And if you look on the right-hand side, from an efficiency perspective, talking about the people side of things and resourcing, you can also see who does what, and how sometimes the accountants might be doing too much admin and not maybe allowing the admin team to actually do a lot of the back end, you know, organization and logistical coordination of all of this work, because that definitely aids and adds to how efficient your, you know, your workflow or lodgement program can actually be. If you've got your admin team really pushing things, as well as the accountants working together, that's where you'll get those efficiency gains from our perspective. As I say, I'm more than happy to obviously take this offline and talk to people about this, because I know that this can sometimes be a little confronting and not everybody likes this idea, but this is one way of, you know, really pushing towards achieving those 1st of April lodgement deadlines. You got any comments on that one, Paul?
No, it looks gold, nice and organised, structured.
Thanks. Cheers. All right. Let's talk about your apps.
Got a random Google logo there. Yeah. So this is simply showing, broadly speaking, how information can sort of flow in and out the organisation, and how we sort of tie all the bits and pieces together. You can probably just click all the way through, I reckon,
Okay,
Amy,
cool.
just to let it do its thing. So it's just showing how you can use any of these sort of DMS systems. You can use Microsoft on the Google side. That stuff's nearly ready to go from our point of view as well. But this stuff should all fit nicely together. They shouldn't be sitting in separate silos, but there should be choice associated with that as well. And that's really all this is highlighting, is all this stuff all fits nicely together, which is what I will take you through some of that now.
It is cool, and that's what I love about this, and that's what we were sort of talking about. Obviously on the prior screen you saw the process. This is now how the tech can actually work, basically, how it all connects in together. You ready for a demo, Paul?
Totally am.
Great. Demo time. Over to you.
All right. Very cool. All right, let me move my head out of the way. All right, so my aim here is to paint a bit of a picture about how we represent those ethoses. How do we get to 100% lodgement? How do we do it through utilising the tech that we already have, potentially? How do we bring visibility across the practice? How do we standardise the work that we do? And how do we streamline and automate? So we're trying to hit all those things at the same time, because combined, all those things should help us be more effective, more efficient, and get the work done faster with less stress, is my ultimate aim. So if you haven't seen AccountKit, this is AccountKit. I'm going to give you a quick run through on just some overarching principles. And then I'm going to do a brief practical run through, because I think practical is really useful to actually see some stuff in action, because then you can start to visualize what that actually means in your day-to-day. Because, man, this stuff, we use this stuff every day. I use it. I keep up to date doing BASs and tax returns for our own entities, because I like to keep in touch with stuff. And if something sucks, then I can address it pretty quick. All right, so dashboard, lots of useful information, everything from team birthdays or client birthdays, quick access information about that, through to even seeing what work I'm working on today, what other project work I might be going on. So I'm surfacing it. As soon as I log into the system, I can see exactly the type of stuff I'm working on. I can change my order of work that I'm doing and open up those tasks. I can see e-signing, so I don't have to log into Anature or FewSign. I can actually see the status of stuff without logging into the other system, but that doesn't stop me from logging into the system. I can click through to there as well. Similarly, so for corporate compliance, whether it be BGL or now Infinity, I can see some statuses quickly around the debt lodgements and annual reviews. And if I need to dive in for further detail, with a click, I'm into the other system. So you can see that's an overarching principle. If I don't have the information here, can I get to the other systems quickly within a click or two? But most importantly, when it comes down to tax lodgements, it comes down to the lodgement graph. So this is a manual import of the ATO lodgement statistics that we used to download every single month in CSV form when we bring in here. This is really useful from multiple layers. One, it's just nice to have a graph to see how we're performing compared to prior years. That's great. I love the fact that I can jump in here and open up these details saying, oh, if I've not received these things, what are they? What have we missed? And seeing at a glance exactly what the ATO thinks is missing. So we have our admin team, they import this every month, and it enables us to then slice and dice the ATO data very, very quickly.
I love this screen. I love it.
It's simple, but really, really awesome.
You know what's really frustrating though, is the fact that in Australia, we actually have to have this. If we were over in NZ, we don't need this screen if you're using Xero Practice Manager. I don't know if you knew that, but that's a little tidbit. Frustrating. That's just one of the I'm frustrated at the ATO moments, as opposed to it's
okay, we're going to address that.
It's the ATO's fault. It's not our fault. I'm just letting you know that.
All right. Well, the other side of the coin is, so I've got visibility over the whole general lodgement program there. The other thing is when we do import the information, we've got these things that capture a whole series of exceptions. And the amount of times when you're going through your ATO lodgement list and someone disappears off your list, or someone appears on your list, you don't have a Webflow item, or there's details that are in my system which are different to the ATO system. So there's a whole bunch of exceptions in here where we can pick up the differences and go, why does our data differ to the ATO? And the first time you do this, there'll be heaps, especially if you're importing from Xero Practice Manager where they mask the TFN. In here, you can see that's the masked TFN from there. But I can just update that in here, and that then updates my client details. So I've already managed that exception, populated the TFN field, which updates my stats. And I know that I'm keeping my client list aligned with the ATO. And often a bunch of questions will come out of this that might have to be put to the accountant or the partner as to why something may have changed or has appeared on the exception list in the first case. So I think that's a really great starting point for making sure we're going to get ourselves to 100% lodgement, because we know what's on the lodgement list in the first place. Cool. So that's the lodgement statistics. I think the next really useful thing is if I go into my search here, and I'm going to go to the full family. Just while I'm in here, again, minimize the clicks. These are quick copy functions for ABNs and TFNs. When I'm on the ATO website downloading a pre-fill report for doing an individual tax return, I can just copy it straight from here without diving in. I can even open up the document management. So whether it's SharePoint or whether it's FY or whatever, I can click on this and it'll take me straight to it. In this case, I'm going to the family group because we deal with our family as a group. Each family is a group. We don't deal with them in isolation. And this is really useful. And this is really key because if I'm talking to a client or doing some client work, right from the screen alone, I can jump to any of the integrations as required directly from here. I can access and update client details directly from here, which updates Xero Practice Manager, including relationships, including quick links into any of the integrations. So quick access to information, really useful. And then we surface stuff that's just relevant to the family. It can be in this case, CAS 360 data straight from CAS 360 with a click through to the client. It's access to the DMS. So this is a live link into the DMS. So this is SharePoint. This is a skin on SharePoint. Any change here immediately impacts what's happening within SharePoint. And I'll show you how that works in next. That's particularly cool. Through to your e-signings, through to important documents, correspondence, everything is filtered by this family group. So there's no excuse for not having quick access to stuff. I've got everything I need to in relation to this group, all from in one place. I'm not drilling around all over the place to find this information. You can see I've just updated that TFN, which is excellent. Update that. So all this information is right here where I'm actually doing the work. So now I've got my client group. Next thing is what tools. And again, I could spend hours doing this and Amy would tell me off if I did. There's lots of amazing tools in here for doing and automating those day-to-day things. So whether it's equipment finance, so in here, we're automating the posting of the equipment finance entries. So that does it all the way throughout the year rather than doing it only at year end, which means if I'm doing management reporting or tax planning, these entries have already been posted for you. And so you're only managing by exception. So if it falls out of balance, you can see it in AccountKit, you can then address it. So in here, we're posting entries, it's fallen out of balance about here. So we probably want to go and have a look into Xero to find out what's going on. And you can see that's clearly why that's not in the right pigeonhole. So we've got that stuff exporting. Actually, while I'm here, I'm just going to export that one there as well while I'm at it, because I'm going to need that one later on. All right, so thank you for that downloads. Intro to loan. This is a really no-brainer. If I had no other tool on the planet, and I would use this, because it saved me more time for me and our own entities for the entire sub. So our accounting firm pays full sub for AccountKit, and it gets covered many times over just by me reconciling our own stuff. So rather than having 2 exports of an account transactions report from Xero, I can manually reconcile, I can auto reconcile, which will go through and find any of the low-hanging fruit and manage that. And then I can bulk code these data straight into the other Xero file. So something used to take me 2 or 3 hours per month, it takes me under 5 minutes to do 5 entities, where there's usually a good 40, 50 transactions with lots of transfers and all sorts. So, you know, worth its weight in absolute gold.
Even as a non-accountant like myself, I'm like, God, that tool's so cool. I love it. I love it. Every time I see it, I'm like, it's just such a cool tool. Yeah,
it brings sexy back to a really not fun activity. It really does. And certainly so for Div 7A.
Which is
no one goes.
We're talking accounting language right now, Paul. So you know that's.
I'm an accountant. I can call it sexy. Similarly, so Div 7A, not fun. Dealing with the HO calculator, or we've got spreadsheets we used to use as well. This means standardise. From a partner point of view, it's knowing it's being done properly with the right right rate, benchmark rate, and that the entries are being posted and correlating back to Xero. It makes it really easy to check. Makes it really easy to have discussions with clients about stuff in a very visual way. Now, there are a bunch of other tools. I'm not going to go through any of those. Instead, I'm actually going to go into a bit of a practical example now. So what we're trying to do is get to 100% lodgement by April. And we're doing that through automations and streamlining of activities we do. And workflow forms a core part of it. And whether you're doing it in AccountKit or another application, the principles are still the same. You know, can we standardize the work that you do? Is there standard templates that capture everything that you do in a repeatable fashion? And so a great example here is a BAS, and here you've got nice, awesome, I'm really retentive around naming conventions that will automatically set those up. We've got a standard task list with short form work instructions so that they know what each task actually means. And then I can set up repeats, and then I can target specific clients to repeat on their appropriate cadence. And so straight away, I know I'm not going to miss anything, because I know these things are going to be repeated and allocated to the right person. And I know they have to work through their way through the checklist to make sure they're not missing anything. And if they do anything wrong and they tick something they say they did do when they didn't do it, then you've got something to go back to on them when they haven't done it properly. So that's standardization. The other thing is, how do I create visibility? There's so much that happens in our practice. It's not just compliance work. There's onboarding a new team member or a new client. There's setting up a company. There's doing tax planning, there's, you name it. There's so many other things happening in the practice. But how much time do we spend then going, I don't actually know where we're up to with that setup. I need to go and have a talk to someone. And then you walk around the office trying to find out where things are up to, and people aren't quite sure. My view here is we want to try and capture as many things happening so that I don't have that, I wonder what's happening. I can instead build a view that just shows the information that's relevant to me that I care about. So I've got heaps of views. These are all custom views, filtered the way that I want to filter, grouped the way I want to, structured the way I want, just so I can see the information that's important to me. And you can have as many views as you like. But the idea is we digest information differently to each other, and the information that's important to me is not going to be important to Amy. So we have the right views set up to be able to see that information really, really quickly. So now that I've got that, you know, I've got the tasks being assigned to my daily plan, which I chuck up into here, and I can manage my workload up here. What I want to be able to do here is I'm actually going to work on a tax job. And This is a good one, Volantex. I can see the status of it over here. My single favorite thing in here is just wrapped around the document management side of things. We do stuff in here all day long. We set up folders, we rename files, do stuff like that all the time. And so we want to make that a lot easier. In this case here, we've already got the client set up. So I'm just going to set up this year's. So it's going like this, insert, and it's going to set up all the folders and subfolders for that client in one place. There you go, all set up. Excellent. I'm working on tax work. And I've even got in here and documents as well. So there's my tax worksheet. That's going to bring in, rename it to the right naming convention, insert it into the folder. If I were now to jump over into SharePoint, so this here will take me over to SharePoint. And you can see, here I am, 2024, there's the tax work paper, there's all the folders I set up.
That's so cool.
Which is just bloody awesome.
Mm-hmm.
I can also open that and it'll open into a local app. Which is doing it over on this other screen over here. But what is particularly cool, there you go, look at that.
Mm-hmm. I'm still seeing your AccountKit screen.
Oh, of course. Yeah.
Sorry.
That's
Or share again.
I don't need to share that one. Close. And in terms of stuff I created earlier, I can just drag stuff into here. There we go. That's now all in SharePoint.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, that file I downloaded a minute ago, that's up here. I can drag that in here too. And I can then also select that, hit F2, the old keyboard shortcuts, and I can rename that because I know that is going to be 924-03, equipment finance, laptops. And then from there, I can actually open that PDF and I can highlight the appropriate balance in there. So you can see this stuff we do every single day, right? If I'm doing a tax job or a BAS job, I'm going in here and I'm highlighting bits and pieces as my verification.
Yeah.
But that's only half the story. Let me change my share screen. Where's my share? The other place we like to work is our email. We're never going to change, at least in the short term, how we live inside our email, because that's just how we work. And I can't see myself changing anytime soon. So what can we do? What can we do to make that easier? Well, this is my email. This is the Outlook extension here. You can see it's not showing me the correct data yet, so I'm just going to update that. You can see straight away I've got access to my DMS directly within here. I can browse the folder structures directly in here. You can see all the files. They've actually provided me with the logbook and bank statements, so I can just drag them straight to there.
Very cool.
Which is awesome. I can hit F2 and rename them here as well, if I need to. I haven't even left here yet. Then I've got the ability to assign. I'll come back to that actually. People. So this is showing me all the information about the client. So I don't have to log into AccountKit or XBM, browse the client, find information. I've got the information about my client right here. These are the client notes, it's the details around the entities. I've got quick links to the ABR, ASIC, the TFN details, even some of the integration details available right here. And again, I haven't even left my email and I can get to lots of information about my client straight here. It's absolutely brilliant. There's all manner of other awesomeness in there. I'm not going to show you all that stuff. But what I will do is I'll just assign this because this is important. That's part of the tax job. I'm just going to make a note.
And I'm just conscious of time, Paul.
Yeah, and yeah. Good call. I know, I can rub it on for a long time.
We've actually got a pretty awesome question once you've finished with your demo as well.
No worries. All right, so that's actually assigned that to the correspondence register in AccountKit. So let me jump back into the right one and reshare that. And over in here, in my links, you'll see now that's come into here, which actually opened up the correspondence register entry. All the details in relation to that correspondence right there. So within a couple of clicks, I've saved the correspondence register, I've saved the files, I've linked it back to the workflow task that's relevant to, and it's all available to the people that are doing the work. And to finish off, I promise Amy, this will be the end of it. I want to send off some stuff now to eSign. And in here, I say, all right, I'm going to grab my financials, which I don't think I finished before, but now I've finished them. My financials. So within here, if you're using Enter or FewSign, then you can then send this stuff off for e-signing to all the right people. It sends it off to Enter and FewSign. I can then say, let me know when I've received it back, and it will send me a notification when they've signed it. It will then auto-file it back into AccountKit. So none of that, those processes where our admin team would be like, have we received that back yet? Have they signed all the right bits and pieces? Do we need to ring the client? You don't have to do any of that, because the moment you've hit send on that and you've updated the status, then all they're going to do is review their e-signing dashboard in here. And straight away they can see, have they read it? Have they reviewed it? Have they signed it? And if they have, as you can see here, it has been signed and stored back into the DMS. You can think of how many clicks we've saved just to get that information back where we started.
It's very cool.
And obviously your lodgement report will update and reflect that next month. So hopefully that cycle then repeats, and we get to everyone. Ta-da. We are.
I love it. I love it. I love it. I love it. All right. We have a number of questions, but let me just also jump to the recap as well.
Let me jump out of my share. Yep. Cool.
So a couple of things in relation to what we've just done then is obviously shown you how to actually process it altogether, right? A couple of, I guess the key takeaways here, and guys, just so you know, I will answer those questions in a moment. How do we get to 100% lodgement? The first one is process map your workflow. What does your workflow actually look like? Where possible, actually be proactive with your workflow and your lodgement program. When you start dictating when you would like to do the client's work, it won't happen instantaneously. Like, you've got to train your clients. Like, it'll take a year or two for them to kind of, get their work in at the time that you want it done. But equally, clients are quite habitual when they want their work done. There are obviously some anomalies, but most clients get their work done at the same time every year. So if you start actually proactively nudging them early, you'll get that work done a hell of a lot quicker. Choose apps that enable you to work where you actually want to work. So it's not just about the workflow, it's also the tech. Visibility, exactly what you said, Paul. The visibility across the client work and the data, like, that's a huge one. And obviously you guys, you saw today that AccountKit obviously does that for you. Standardize, just standardize more. I think the thing that I want to point out with that one is, accountants like to think that every client that they deal with is bespoke and custom at certain points. And I will say that, yes, the relationship and the advice that you provide is bespoke and customized to that individual client, but the output and how you obviously process work, that should be standardized. Do you agree with that, Paul?
I totally agree. We acknowledge the fact that clients can be different, but the raw process behind the scenes is going to be the same. Yeah. So even in our workflow, you can customize a task at a client level, and that'll repeat, or you can add a file note associated just to the client. So the customized elements should still be taken care of, but the fundamental process does not change.
Yeah, like, engage them all through hypothetically ignition. Send them all out through the same signing solution. Use the same tools to obviously do your financials, like the same DMs, like all of those kinds of things should all be standardized basically. Yeah, streamline and automate where you can. Automate everything that you possibly can. The less clicks, the better, because as we all know in this industry as well, trying to find really good quality team members to help fulfill all of the work at the moment, we've had this issue for quite some time, and it's only going to get worse with trying to find good human beings. So we're not in the luxury space now where we can just throw a human being at a problem. We actually have to use the technology so that we can, so that we can get our humans to do the things that they're trained to do. And I agree, start the change now more than anything. All right, a couple of questions before we wrap up. What would you use AccountKit Workflow instead of XPM Job Flow Manager? Do they sync up? You can use both. They do sync.
Yes.
But you can use
both. So the stance we've taken on that is, you're either managing your workflow in AccountKit or you're managing in XPM. Yep. But having said that, something I forgot to show you is that we do link back to the XPM job. So you can hit the keyboard shortcut T and it opens up your timesheet, and it's much more streamlined. So you still manage, if you're doing your timesheets, still manage your timesheets and billing out of XPM if you're not using Ignition for doing that side of things. So the two talk to each other, but we don't have them so closely entwined because there's no point in having both in that scenario. Just doubles up your work.
if anybody wants any help with that as well, feel free to reach out to us just about how to structure your jobs and things like that so that you can use both systems together. Especially if you are still doing traditional WIP-based billing, you still need XPM for that regardless, right? So you still need to be able to do that. So, but workflow definitely in AccountKit. Does the system work with FYI filing conventions?
Yeah, we wrote a custom integration into FYI, and I think this speaks volumes about. I mean, we compete with them clearly on a few different points, but at the same time, if you love FYI, you're not going to love AccountKit in the same fashion, and so your focus will be different. It'll be compliance probably only, and therefore you'd use the FYI for the correspondence and workflow. Our integration is really bespoke. It takes care of the cabinets. So it's the same behavior. I can drag and drop and it then tags it with the right cabinet details as well.
Yeah, cool. Another question is, does the e-signing also integrate with Adobe Sign and DocuSign, or is it only Annature and FuseSign?
At this point, it's only Annature and FuseSign, in part because I love to support local, in part also because I've got a direct Slack channel with the developers, and anytime I have a problem or I think I need a piece of functionality, I can just ping them and it gets done. There's not a chance in hell we can do that with the big players, and their software is just so bloody awesome. Like I don't know why you'd use other platforms when their stuff is also really quite cost effective as well.
And purpose built for accountants. That's the other thing. Like Adobe and DocuSign, for example, they're not purpose built. They're like, they're for everyone, not specifically for the accounting industry, whereas Annature and FuseSign were originally built for the accounting industry. Yeah, I'm with you on that one as well. Cool. If anybody's got any more questions, feel free to pop them in. Whilst you've on the screen there, if anybody's interested, what we've spoken about today is processes. We've spoken about procedures. We've spoken about the tech side of things as well. Something to aid in that is a service that Clarity Street has just launched, which is called Project 95. Crafted by practice managers or practice managers. We are effectively doing coaching for your practice managers and administrative teams. So accountability and coaching for those team members who are often left to their own devices without too much direction sometimes. So this is about accountability for those. So we've just spoken about how to bring it all together, but you obviously need to be able to train the team members that are obviously going to take care of that. And that's what Project 95 is all about, coaching for those team members to give them a support network, to give them accountability, to actually help them harness, what's going on in the practice so that it allows the directors and the accountants to focus on what you guys do best. So that's what Project 95 is all about. So if anybody's interested, feel free to scan that as well. All right. Who wants to hear more? Let me launch some polls. Let me get that happening. Get in there. One is from, who wants to hear more from Clarity Street? Feel free to pop that in now. And as well, Paul, was there anything else that we didn't touch on today for you, just out of curiosity?
I don't think so. I think I probably talked enough. You got questions, like go to our website. We do a monthly overview webinar where we go through everything. Even on the resources page, there's some 2-minute videos that are made for accountants and bookkeepers just to watch and get a feel for how the tools work. Because I like to see how a tool works before I want to buy it. So there's a bunch of 2-minute videos which are just take you through how they work, and you can see whether it resonates for you.
I just hit the wrong button on your poll. One moment. No, this is bad. Relaunch the poll. Who wants to hear from AccountKit? My bad. I am kicking goals today, aren't I, Paul, with this? The tech is just in my favor.
Yeah, do you want to show the yellow on your hands?
Oh, that was a faux pas. I spilt something that had saffron on me before. It's just it's a wonderful, wonderful Wednesday in the world of Clarity Street. So if anybody wants to hear obviously more from AccountKit, feel free to launch that. Pop your details in there. But thank you very much to everybody who joined us today. If you want any more information, feel free to shoot us an email, info@claritystreet.com.au, or hit up Ben B at account-kit.com as well. So yeah, he'll have a heap of questions for you. Thank you, everyone. A recording will be shared as well. So cheers, Paul, for joining us.
All right. Thank you so much. Had a blast.
My pleasure. Thank you.
All right. Bye.